Good evening, everyone. My name is Anjene Davis, and I see a lot of familiar faces in this room. Grateful to all of you who are here tonight. I wish it was under different circumstances, but this is the call that we have to answer. So, part of my presentation is going to talk about what is the foundation upon which a lot of these things are being built upon. And as this hopefully will work, the 7 Mountains mandate for Dominionism. So groups like Moms for Liberty and other right-wing extremist groups have been using religion as the Trojan horse to gain political power. They think that by using God, they can be above reproach because most people will be caught off guard. And so let me say this, because I am in the house of the Lord and I am here with my elders. I was raised in rural South Carolina. I grew up Baptist. I grew up in a church that did not have air conditioning for years. And I grew up where people got baptized in the creek. We didn't have the fancy pools and everything that folks have here. So I think I am kind of well versed in the expressions of religion that exist in our community. So anything I say comes from that tradition. I had a great-grandmother that told me the truth has no friends. It doesn't care whether black, white, young, old, it's just the truth. And so I'm here to speak to you the truth. So, the 7 Mountains Mandate is a system that is originated within certain conservative Christian ideologies. And basically, I know you can't necessarily see that, it basically states that Christians should have unlimited influence over 7 spheres. Okay? Those spheres are religion, family, education, government, the media, arts and entertainment, and business. And I'm here to tell you that here locally in Charleston, South Carolina, Moms for Liberty pretty much has cornered those 7 things. If you think about it, they are operating out of churches. They are using families, because those are the people that's showing up in these school board meetings and they're touting parents' rights. Education. They have a 5-4 majority in Charleston County. They have a 6-3 in Berkeley County, as well as other parts of the state. As a matter of fact, Pastor Wicks, I'm going to deviate real quick. Go to the Moms for Liberty website. Real quick.
State superintendent.
Oh, yeah, I'll get ready to get to all of that. All right, see that map? South Carolina. South Carolina has 46 counties. As of tonight, 20 of those counties have a Moms for Liberty child. 20. Almost half of our state has a Moms for Liberty child. Go back to the PowerPoint, Pastor Dix, and slideshow will be good. All right. Government. Here's what many of you may not know. Moms for Liberty, at least here in South Carolina, and especially here in Charleston, is not just this random group of people who came together to advocate for parents' rights in our local school system. You're not. Moms for Liberty came into existence with an already built-in infrastructure in our local government. Supporters of the Charleston chapter of Moms for Liberty include your governor, lieutenant governor, your state treasurer, your attorney general, and the newly elected state superintendent of education, Ellen Weaver. So that's your government sphere. Media. I can say without hesitation that I was one of the people who was trying to sound the alarm on this group 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when Glenn Youngkin won governorship in Virginia, it was groups associated that later became Moms for Liberty that got him elected. And the media was actually giving fluff pieces to Moms for Liberty. There was a CNN interview with a woman who talked about a book and why it didn't need to be in public schools. And at the end of the interview, because she is a white woman, of course, but at the end of the interview, the interviewer asked her, so is your child in public school? And she said no. You had a woman sitting here railing against the public school system that she did not even have a child in. But that's a standard. Hear me when I say this. Moms for Liberty is not a group of parents concerned about public education. Moms for Liberty is nothing more than the latest, the 21st century version of the Daughters of the Confederacy. They are the face of white supremacy. They are what conservatives have been looking for decades, a vehicle to push their cultural war agenda. Arts and entertainment. This past summer, there was a movie that was put out by Christian media regarding human trafficking. I can't remember the name of it, but I think everybody should know it was it Freedom Road or something like that? That movie was touted by Christians around the country. They were talking about it. They had this group that went around the world to select and supposedly protect kids and people who were being human trafficked, only to find out that the leader of said group was actually involved in human trafficking and sexual assault. Okay? That's media. Not to mention that it wasn't until the last year and a half that media has even started to be critical of this group. They're just now starting. And I want to go back to something that I think Roy said. The fact that this grassroots group had a conference in Philadelphia this year, a grassroots group that had not only presidential candidates, but it also had several other elected officials and other state superintendents of education. Our very own Ellen Weaver was there. Ryan Walters from Oklahoma, if you have not been paying attention to education, if you think we're bad, Oklahoma is terrible. He was there, right? And then business. Earlier this year in May, the Charleston County chapter of Moms for Liberty had a fundraising event. This was a couple months after the special election in which Mr. Darren Calhoun was elected. And I should also make this in case folks did not know. When the special election for the District 6 seat for West Ashley came up, and that's the seat currently held by Mr. Darren Calhoun, it was between him and Mr. Lee Runyon, former principal of West Ashley High School. Moms for Liberty, Charleston chapter, put out on their website and social media that they did not want to see Darren Calhoun get elected because, and I quote, he stands for social and racial justice. So when I hear people tell me, no, AJ, Moms for Liberty is not racist, when someone says that you should not vote for a person because they stand for racial and social justice, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to make of it? But to the business point, that same fundraiser had several individuals, several prominent business owners. Okay? If you ever seen that booze pop van downtown Charleston, anywhere around Charleston, that's a supporter. Ayaka Farmers, that's a supporter. Oh, your current U.S. Senator, former presidential candidate, Tim Scott, supporter. I mean, they gave money. So did your state attorney general, gave money. So, as it stands right now, I want you to understand that the 7 spheres of influence are right here. And Mom show you guys a video of what it looks like when they implement their strategy to perfection. I've been going around the country for the last year and a half. Fortunately, I've been blessed to be in various conferences. I actually testified on Capitol Hill last December, regarding what was going on here in South Carolina. I had an opportunity to meet several individuals who are fighting the same fight. Individuals from Texas. There's a gentleman by the name of Christopher Tackett, white gentleman, self-made, has his own money. He and I had a very interesting conversation because we talked about how in Texas he saw what was happening because he's a former school board member. And so because he had his own money, he could not be influenced, he could be boss. But what happened was there was a push, there was a company, Patriot Mobile, a cellular communications company that funded takeovers of school districts in Texas. Play that video.
We are on a mission, and our mission is to live by the Constitution and putting Him first. They do need to think that these things that they're teaching children in our schools today, they really need to think about the facts, right? Let's live by the facts. This is a country that was founded on God. You can go back to the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and it does. They put Him first. We are just trying to live by that.
When we started this program last year, we introduced you to that guy, Glenn Story. He's the one with the "In God We Trust" sign behind him. And he is the leader of a conservative Christian phone company that is literally taking the call to put God, or more specifically an extreme far-right interpretation of Christianity, to put that back in schools. His company is contributing to a fringe conservative movement across North Texas. Its goal is to peddle extreme anti-LGBT conservative Christian ideology to public school students. The company has been trying to push a specific fringe Christian ideology that is increasingly popular on the far right. It's called Dominionism. That is the belief that Christians are called on to dominate the 7 key mountains of American life, including business, media, government, and education. And so far, this company has been pretty successful. Through its political action committee, it has managed to infiltrate North Texas school boards and consequently North Texas classrooms. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton went to Texas to talk with the students who are there dealing with the consequences.
In pockets of North Texas, students are worried about politics and religion creeping into their classrooms.
Even though we live in a conservative area, most kids are fine with learning about different identities, about learning about people of color and LGBTQ people. It's frustrating, strange, and hypocritical to see the "In God We Trust" signs being put up everywhere, while at the same time books are being removed from our library shelves.
I think I've learned more about politics in the last year than in my entire life.
More than you wanted to?
More than I wanted to. And now that is all I can see. In my school, all I can see is people pitted against each other.
Over the course of the last 2 years, school boards in the Grapevine, Carville, Southlake, and Keller school districts all passed sweeping policies, like restricting lessons on race, gender, and sexuality, the bathroom use of transgender students, and removing access to hundreds of books. Many of those school board members are being backed by a conservative Christian cell phone company, Patriot Mobile.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider.
Headquartered in Grapevine, they promise to donate some of their profits to GOP causes, and they run a political action committee called Patriot Mobile Action. One of their spiritual advisors, Pastor Rafael Cruz, is the father of GOP Senator Ted Cruz. He live streams Bible study sessions from their offices, encouraging Christians to run for local school board seats.
If the righteous are not running for office, if the righteous are not even voting, then what's left? The wicked electing the wicked.
Christian leaders have found success by focusing on school politics. One Texas evangelist and Patriot Mobile business partner, Lance Wallnau, recently claimed Christians played a secret role in elections in the neighboring town of Southlake.
We're doing Southlake, Texas right now.
the city council took over the mayor's office. Boom. You know who it was? Christians did it. The media doesn't know it because we never said it was a church initiative. We called it a community initiative.
In total, the PAC Patriot Mobile Action spent more than $600,000 supporting at least 14 Texas school board candidates in the last 2 years, according to campaign finance reports. Races that only a few years ago would have been mom and pop operations run with only a few $1,000s. Patriot Mobile hired a pair of GOP consulting firms that have worked on campaigns for Ted Cruz and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, bringing sophisticated national strategies to local school politics.
Do you believe that having biological males compete in women's sports?
North Texas Representative Nate Schatzline represents many of the families in the Keller School District. He's also a former pastor and runs a church-based nonprofit that works to get conservative Christians elected in these communities. On the first day of the last Texas legislative session this year, he led a prayer and worship service in the Texas Capitol. He shared some of the images on social media.
There's nothing more important we could be doing than this right here, worshiping and praying in the middle of the Capitol.
Throughout the session, he talked about how his faith informed his politics. Schatzline and other conservatives voted to restrict drag performances and to hire religious chaplains as unlicensed mental health counselors in public schools. He spoke with NBC News for the new podcast, Grapevine. Do you believe in the fundamental separation of church and state?
I believe that church and state in the Constitution, what was written about it was written to keep the state out of the church, not to keep the church out of the state.
That belief has pushed some teachers out of public education for good. Amanda Guthrie was an award-winning world history teacher in Grapevine before she quit halfway through last school year.
I think they want to defund public education, create a essentially segregated school system, and whether that be segregated by race or religion is unclear right now. I believe they want complete control over curriculums, and they ultimately want to create an uninformed and, I hate the term brainwashed, but manipulated voter base.
Our analysis of district data shows she was one of more than 160 staffers who resigned from her district by the end of the last school year.
They say that it was teachers like you who were doing the brainwashing and the indoctrinating. Is there any truth to that? Were there teachers while you were there pushing their political ideologies, talking about gender and sex in the classroom? Absolutely not. We were trying to prepare our students, of course, for college success, but more pressingly for the AP exam at the end of the year. So I never discussed things that were outside of the realm of those standards. And I know that my coworkers didn't either.
The Grapevine, Colleyville, Southlake, and Keller School District leaders all declined interviews. But in an email, Grapevine Colleyville told NBC News, "We review all feedback and continuously look at how we can better serve and support our employees." Southlake's Carroll School noted, "As required by Texas law, we have policies and processes that respect parental rights and appropriately review curriculum." And Keller ISD saying, "We believe that mutual respect and dignity build unity."
In a time where the climate is so hostile and ever-changing, when's the next policy going to come? What have they just done now? It's nice to be able to find solace in just friends you can talk to.
I think the student communities that have sprung up make me optimistic because I've seen so many students stepping up as leaders and forming a community where people feel safe.
So, I had an opportunity to meet individuals from those school districts. And I had an opportunity to talk with them about what they faced. And so, what you saw in that video is the plan. You heard what they said. They ran for not only school board, but city council and other races, right? And while this is a microcosm of the larger entity, Moms for Liberty, you've got another group, Parents Defending Education, and something that doesn't get said enough, the Republican Party. I'm here to say we tend to not want to speak to the realities that we are looking at. Currently, Moms for Liberty and many of these right-wing conservative groups are aligned with the establishment Republican Party. Because pretty much all of their candidates, if you go look at their voter registration, are Republican. Now, can you be a Republican and be a good person? Yeah, you can be whatever and be a good person. But I want you to think about this. In the time that we have seen Moms for Liberty burst on the scene, in the time that we've watched our school board meetings descend into chaos, which is the intention, with the exception of your 3 mayors, who's come out and said or condemned their actions? In fact, a couple weeks ago, members of what's called the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, which is nothing more than the extremist wing of the Republican Party, came to Charleston. Many of those representatives don't represent Charleston District, but they came to Charleston to support our 5-member majority. Here's what I'm going to say, folks, because as everyone who's come up before me has said, I've had the opportunity to see these people head on in various environments, not just the school board meeting. I've gone to the State House, and I've watched people come up and flat out lie. And I'm going to say something because I'm also an employee at Charleston County School District. I work at Burke High School. I've been there for 12 years. And even at Burke High School, there's no indoctrination on. There is no school district in Charleston County in which teachers are teaching elementary school kids about sexuality in an inappropriate manner. And the books that you see them going after are books sitting in the shelves of libraries, meaning they're part of the library collections. There for those students and individuals who choose to get them. There are no teachers in our school district assigning controversial materials for kids to become gay, to identify as gay or trans. And let me say this, one of the tools that groups like Moms for Liberty and other far-right extremists use is our, meaning us as communities, our general discomfort with difference. Gay people have always existed. Whether you agree with the lifestyle or not, they exist. Trans people exist. And they have the right to. Because here's how I always push back on people when they start to talk about those marginalized groups. You don't have to agree with homosexuality. You don't. If that's not for you, don't be gay. You don't agree with transsexual identity? Guess what? Don't change your gender identity. Those individuals deserve to exist. But what these people want to do is they want to plant the seed in sometimes fertile soil, especially in religious communities, because I saw this at the State House. They used black people, black religious people, to testify and say that, yeah, I want, my child or my grandchild to be exposed to this. Your grandchildren are not being exposed to this. I want y'all to think about this. South Carolina as a state, we struggle to get kids to read, period. Do you really think teachers are sitting up here indoctrinating kids with sophisticated language about gender identity and sexual exploration as elementary school kids? Our test scores don't reflect that. But these people would have you think that because they're trying to appeal to our prejudices and our ignorance about difference. That's the greatest weapon that Moms for Liberty and those adjacent groups use. Because in reality, if you go look at the books that get banned, you look at the subject matter that they don't want our kids to learn about, it's about black and brown people, gay people. It's about non-white, non-Christian demographic groups. That's the target. And so when you see that as a target, what kind of education do you expect our kids to get if they can't learn about themselves? I told someone when he said, well, you know, a kindergarten doesn't need to learn about gender identity. I said, well, what if both of their parents were male? Do you not make me see that? I used Ruby Bridges. Did she need to learn at 6 years old that white people didn't think she deserved a quality education and to be escorted into a school building by military personnel? And she's still alive. Did she deserve that? Was she prepared for that? So when I hear the arguments that these folks attempt to make, all of them fall flat. But what I encourage all of you to do when you leave here tonight is to understand three things. Moms for Liberty is a hate group. Okay? 2, if you are not condemning them openly and consistently, you might just be aligned with them. And the last one. I know sometimes when I talk to people here in Charleston, we talk about our school board in less than favorable terms, right? They say, oh, our school board has always been this way. And I will tend to agree. But this is different. This is different. Because these individuals have been put in place to do something that will set us back 50 years, if not further. And they are intended to do it in a way that we can't stop them if we don't show up in every single election. I saw where just last week or 2 weeks ago when we had the election here, South Carolina had 700 elections on November 7th. 700 throughout the state. You had a lot of municipalities running their elections. And I want to say statewide, we still fell short, like less than 10% maybe, total turnout. And that's been consistent. If you pay attention, if you go to scvotes.gov, you can see it. We have got to stop thinking this is just business as usual. It's not books. These people, it's not about books. It's not about curriculum. It's about control. They not only don't want their kids to learn, they don't want your kids to learn, and an uneducated populace presents no challenge when you want to take over. So I'm going to stop there first.
Oh, before I forget, the sheets you have, there's a budget proviso, and I probably should have started with that. 1.82, that's the latest iteration. That budget proviso is the only thing that's allowing them to do what they are doing currently in South Carolina, because technically there is no law that allows them to truly discriminate or ask to ban books. So this proviso, which has been in for 3 years, is what they're using to go after books, to go after curriculum, and it's been there thanks to former State House Rep Lynn Bennett. So one of the things that we need to do next year, because your entire General Assembly is up for re-election in 24. So you're not just voting for your president, you're voting for your State House Rep and your state senator. We need to push to make sure that that proviso is removed. 3728 is the law that they're trying to pass to codify the censorship. And so I've been working with the group for the past 2.5 years to fight both of those. So but those are information sheets for folks to read up on.